Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back with you on this beautiful Sunday evening slash night during the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations, for which we are already into stoppage time of the 90 minutes, but we are yet to find a breakthrough in that game that is ongoing over there in Morocco. So, I mean, very, very interesting game. The referee has made what will go down as a very odd call. He's made a decision that many will not agree with, but I'll give him the benefit of doubt because Senegal thought they had scored the breakthrough goal in that final, but that goal was definitely ruled out because by the time the ball goes into the back of the net, the referee had already called for foul. Now, I for one do not think for a second that that in itself was a foul or the moment in itself was being worthy of being called a foul. But I'll give him the benefit of that because he had already called that by the time the ball hits the back of the net. If the ball had first hit the back of the net and then he called that as a foul to cancel out the goal, trust me, it was not going to go down well already. And then and as if to balance the scales or to balance issues, he made another call on the other side, not to give a penalty, and then he was summoned to the video assistant referee, and I think that should be a penalty. You know, I mean, what are they thinking? Hi, Pedri. Good evening. Good to have you on the broadcast. Thank you for joining us very, very early on into this broadcast. We are equally following the events from the Africa Cup of Nations finals. But yeah, I mean, that's in itself as blatant as you could call it for penalty. I mean, I'm wondering, why did he have to do that? Why do you have to drag Brahim Diaz to the floor like that? Why do you have to wrestle him down? You know, there's a mosquito disturbing me, but it's all good. So, I mean, that for me is going to be given. And what will make that moment controversial is because of the earlier moment that I was just talking about. You know, is because of the earlier moment, and you can see already chaos is erupting between the Senegalese players and those on the Moroccan bench. There's a bit of chaos, and I remember we were speaking about this game earlier on in the day, and I said it was going to be a game of small margins, that it will be a game of moments, and it turned out to be practically that. Not much has separated the two sides, if we're being honest. Morocco get a penalty. You're saying no way. I mean, the foul in itself is worthy of a penalty. That's the honest bit. If we're being fair, Pedri, if we are being honest to ourselves, and if any of the teams that are playing were our teams in terms of teams that we pay allegiance to, we'll be calling for that penalty. I mean, yeah, it is crazy. And what makes it crazy is the moment at which the penalty in itself comes, the moment at which the penalty comes. Now, I cannot call it questionable for coming in that moment because that's when the foul has been committed. But, I mean, the Senegalese will only have themselves to blame. I mean, you do that. If that kind of foul had been committed against them on the other opposite side of the pitch, they would be calling for the same thing. They would be calling for a review of the incident for penalty. And in any case, the referee had sort of maybe overlooked the incident to let the game play on. And he was summoned to the monitor to go and review the incident. And the result of that is it's a penalty. And I agree with the decision. You say, like, wow, it's the last minute of the game, and Malik Diop will have the worst night of his life. Exactly, because I did not think he needed to do the kind of action he did or to commit that kind of foul on Brahim Diaz in that moment. I mean, it's literally the last kick of the game before you head into extra time. And then you literally expose your team to that. I do not know. And I say this from a fan's perspective, but because in any case, we never get to interact with these players. But I always question the players' state of mind when they commit certain fouls and hope that they will get away with them, especially in certain moments of the game. For example, a game has just kicked off 5, 10, 15 minutes in, and you're committing a foul that is worthy of a red card, and you're thinking to yourself, what is he thinking? Did you think you're going to get away with that? You remember the moment of Robert Sanchez, Manchester United versus Chelsea, the game that United win 2-1 for Sanchez to be sent off. I think the foul was either on Matas Cunha or Brian Mbomo, one of those. I mean, why do you need to do that? Let the guy score and maintain 11 players on the pitch and game on. It's still early in the game. You can recover from that, deficit, even if it were 2-0 down. After 5, 10 minutes in the game, you can still recover from that. So Malik Diop will be really, really having the only hope he can have is that Benjamin Mendy saves the penalty. And then we have a repeat of the incident that we had when Luis Suarez handled the ball that was destined for the back of the net in the quarterfinals of the 2010 World Cup when Ghana were playing up against Uruguay. For those of you that remember, Asamoah Gyan missed the resultant penalty, which hit the crossbar. And basically that was it. When he hits the crossbar, game goes into extra time. And I think Ghana get knocked out, was it on penalties? So Malik Diop can only be hoping that Benjamin Mendy comes to his rescue. But Senegalese players are being dishonest to themselves in saying they cannot concede a penalty at that point. If their point of contention is from the earlier incident that we kicked off with this broadcast, I completely understand. If that's the point of contention, 100% I understand. It appears like Senegalese players are walking away from the turf, protesting, not wanting to finish this game. But I see I have a comment from Junko Enoshima says, wow, I won't read that comment. Bazoka Franklin says, your accent is awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining the broadcast. For those of you that are just joining us, my name is Robert Kesakos, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda, where it's 4 minutes past the hour of midnight. We are following the events from the Africa Cup of Nations finals between Morocco, the host nation, and Senegal, the 2021 champions. Both sides have won this competition only once, with Morocco having won it back in 1976, while Morocco won it back in 2021 when they beat up against Egypt 4-2 on post-match penalties that preceded a goalless draw. Now, the Senegalese players are leaving the pitch. Now, like I said, they can protest all day, but if they are protesting about the moment itself, they are being dishonest to themselves. They are being dishonest to the incident. If any of them has had the chance to look at the incident, which I do not think many have had the chance to look at, maybe I'm just giving them the benefit of doubt, that's why they could be contesting it. But if they have watched that incident, they themselves too will agree that it's a penalty. Absolutely. Malik Diop did not need to drag Brahim Diaz to the floor. He did not need that. But I suspect, and if I were in their shoes, I'll be equally furious for the earlier incident that happened, for the goal that they scored. Like I said, I give the referee the benefit of doubt because by the time the ball goes into the back of the net, he has already blown his whistle for a foul. So it's not a cancelled goal. In other words, he's ruined the moment for Senegal to score a genuine goal. That goal is as genuine as night and day. Why? Because the foul that he calls, what he blows for foul, in my opinion, is never foul. I mean, it's a simple tag on between players, and the Moroccan player, who I forget his name, literally goes easily on the floor. Senegalese player wins the ball, heads it, I think, to the upright, gets back into play, and it's headed into the back of the net. But like I said, by the time the goal in itself is scored, the referee has already blown the whistle. So that means Moroccan players can contest that to say, you had already blown the whistle, so we gave up on our concentration in that moment. So they have plausible deniability or room for defense. If the referee had left the moment, play itself out, and that goal, then the result would have been simple, that it was a genuine goal. Even if he had been called, someone to the monitor, to referee, to review his call, he himself come to the conclusion that I possibly came too quickly on as soon as I reviewed the incident, that's not a foul. It's just too weak. It's just too weak. It's a contact sport, and it's a corner kick. There's a lot of pushing, shoving, and etc. Now, in a contact sport, there's what qualifies for allowable contact or minimal contact. And for me, that moment, for those of you that have watched it back because it's been replayed, do you agree that it was a foul or not a foul? What, Pedri, I'm interested in picking your mind. Do you think in that Senegal corner that was a foul? But the Senegalese players are not having it. They're not having it. Now, two separate incidences. The one that happened earlier for their corner kick, which resulted into a goal that they scored after the referee had blown the whistle, that's their moment of contention. That's why they're pissed off. That's why they are walking away. And like I said, they're not walking away because of the penalty incident that has been given. Now, that in itself is simply the spark of it all. Why? Because they believe an injustice was done on them earlier on. And in a quick turn of events, Morocco get the advantage. So they feel it's an injustice being done on them. And Sadio Mane is calling on to his players, his fellow players, to return back to the playing tough. There's so much that has gone on in terms of engagements between technical people. I've seen the coaches being engaged, Idris Ganagay, all and the other players that had walked back to the dressing room. Now, in all this, of course, it's football that suffers. Unfortunately, one, it's the image of African football. It's the image of football itself. It's the officiation of the game that gets into jeopardy. I can see Papa Thia trying to summon his players back to the playing turf. They all do not agree, of course, with what has happened. For me, like I've said, it's simple. Senegal are mostly aggrieved because of the earlier incident. If the earlier incident had left to play out, perhaps we do not even get to this moment in the game. But that's the course of nature. We are at that moment, We are at that moment, and we must let things play out. We must let things play out. So, as unfortunate as it is, I would love to see Senegal come back on and play this game out. Because unfortunately, them walking away, at the time when they walk away, it cannot be a game that is forfeited, that requires a replay. They are already in stoppage time, So that's the thing. So Sadio Mane is had to run to the dressing room to go and call his teammates to return to the pitch. Like I said, these are ugly scenes on the final of the Africa Cup of Nations. But it's football, it's sport, it's competitive, it's emotional. A lot is at stake for both countries. They all want to win it so badly. Senegal want to win it like they've never won it. Morocco want to win it like they've never won it. It's on home soil, you know. But like I said, the players are starting to come back on. All that is in protest. Now, whatever the penalties will be for that incident, I do not know. If you're CAF, you're going to have CAF in itself are going to have a very, very long week. And unfortunately, we will never forget this final, not for the right reasons. Unfortunately, it will be for the wrong reasons. You know why? Because the referee, they think, or at least people will think, the referee put the game in jeopardy. Does he have a part to play in that? Straight on, he has a part to play in this. He's put the game in jeopardy. Why? Because of the earlier call that he made. Because of the earlier call that he made. Not the call on the penalty for me, but because of the earlier call that he made. That for me was not a foul. Never at any one point was that a foul, you know? And he caused a foul, he costs Senegal a goal scoring opportunity, an opportunity they used to score, but because the whistle had already gone, the goal does not stand. And it cannot be even summoned to the board, to VAR, to have the incident reviewed, you know? So, unfortunately, that's where he ruins the game. Everything else in the game was okay, was perfect. It was a game of fine margins. It was a game of a few moments. El Kabi missed, I think, what would have been the golden opportunity of the game in the second half. And now Brahim Diaz has to step up and face Benjamin Mendy, you know, for that resultant penalty. After that, how many minutes do we play? I do not know. I do not know how many minutes do we play. If you're the referee, do you let it play on, hoping that maybe Senegal get an equalizer? I do not know. What if it never comes? You know? So really, it's very, very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate that it's come to that. But let's watch the penalty from Brahim Diaz. Somebody just said Morocco is not different from NRM. Unfortunately, maybe, or fortunately, it's not Morocco that decides who the match official is. But yeah, this is and you must now feel for the referee. He's under so much tension and pressure because of this moment. If the ball if it goes into the back of the net, of course it's a goal. How much time do you then add on? I do not know. We're already in literally the final minutes of added time. Senegal's only prayer and hope is that Brahim Diaz misses that, or Mendy saves it, and the game is restored to parity, you know. The penalty has been saved. Penalty saved. So we are back to square one. It's goalless. He is, I don't know whether the Moroccans will blame him for this. Oh, he tried to go for the dink. He tried to go for the penanka. He tried to be smart. And Benjamin Mendy collects. And then they are having a go at him, the Moroccan players, El Nasiri, and I don't know if it's the head coach there, but I don't know. Do you think Brahim Diaz tried to create his moment of fair play? Because we've seen it before, where players decide to take a moment of fair play when they feel that the game has been put in disrepute or an unjust decision has been made. I remember, I think it was Dennis Bergkamp. A penalty was being awarded and went to the referee. Please do not do not hold me to that. I stand to be corrected. But there's a player that went to the referee and said that was not a penalty. Unfortunately, the referee had already given the decision. But so Brahim Diaz has missed the penalty, top scorer of the tournament with 5 goals. But the way he takes the penalty, for a player of his quality, I understand he went for the penanka and stuff to try to be cheeky, but a part of me feels like, given what's happened in the game, he's tried to sort of balance the scales. In other words, try not to score the penalty and let the game play on. Let's go for extra time and let's have the game. But also, you must understand, one, the amount of pressure, the amount of pressure that weigh on his shoulders. 2, because there's so much time that has gone on in between the penalty being awarded and him taking the penalty. A lot has happened in that moment, including Senegalese players walking off the pitch, that by the time you get to play it, the momentum is gone. You're out of the heat of the moment for the Moroccan players, So, yeah, that's how I want to look at it. Pedro says, this is the most crazy match I watched ever. I feel like, for some reason, he got told to miss the penalty. I feel like it was on purpose, Mr. Tribe. A part of me feels that way. Because when I watch, because I've watched the penalty back and forth at least 3 times, and it feels to me, given the incidents that have happened, possibly either by himself or there was a consensus, some form of consensus within the team that we should not score this penalty. Let's balance the scales and have a go at it. I do not know exactly what's happened. We are only speculating. It's only conspiracy theory. But when you look at his posture, when you look at how he goes for that ball, even with the penanka, sometimes, depending on who is taking it, if you're not Andrea Pirlo or Lionel Messi, you may put a bit of pace to it. The ball didn't feel like it had pace to it. So, Pedri, I can suddenly read into your sort of school of thought for him having been in that position. But like I said, it can be also the other way around, that he intended to score the penalty, he tried to be too smart about it, and then he missed. Because look at Benjamin Mendy. That hesitation to move is what helps him to save the ball. But also the pressure. I've seen, I think it was one matter who was speaking about a penalty that he took, and he said he went over to the ball not knowing what side he wanted to put the ball. He wasn't sure. Go left, go right. Why? It's a long walk from the center of the pitch to the other side where you're going to take the penalty from. So you go on having your mind changed here and there. Do I go with this? Do I go with that? So eventually you make a decision when you put the ball down, when you actually kick it, So it could also be that pressure got the better of him. That because so many things had happened in between the penalty being awarded and the moment itself of taking the penalty, that he lost it. But for me, I'm glad they did not score the penalty, because had they scored the penalty, probably at most would have played the game on for about 5-7 minutes at most, and then the referee would have to call it to an end. Now, in the grand scheme of things, too, I do not think this referee will get the opportunity to be given another high-profile game. 2, it puts in disrepute, like I already mentioned, the entire game of football on the African continent, and the quality of officiation, So, but it is what it is. We're into extra time, and let's see where the game goes. Now, from this point on, I do not want to say that Senegalese players will have no excuses if they end up losing. But given the events in the game, how that moment played with the psychology of those players, anything can happen. Anything can happen. If Senegal loses, they'll still look back at that moment as the moment that changed everything in the game. But like I said, it's because of the earlier decision that the referee had made. If it doesn't make that decision, and this moment happens, we wouldn't even be debating it. And it's a goal. Senegal score through the substitute, Kwe. It's a goal. It's 1-0 to Senegal. Now, the level of psychological disruption that's gone on through those Moroccan players, losing the momentum of the game, the guilt of missing a penalty, if it is an honest miss, all that comes into context. But then for the referee, I feel you're almost afraid of making another significant decision in the game because you've already prejudiced the fans or the game itself to think that you're biased. But wow, what a brilliant goal. What a brilliant goal there that Gueye has scored. I'm trying to find his other name. Gueye. That beautiful, beautiful goal that he scored. Yes, Pape Gueye. Yes, shot 26, Pape Gueye is the goal scorer. So it's 1-0 to this match will be remembered forever. The way the tables have flipped now is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. But it's extra time. Let's see where it lands at the end of it. At the end of the day, let's see where it lands. But yeah, Pape Gueye scores a 94th minute goal, or in the 4th minute of extra time to give Senegal the lead. But that moment of the penalty incident and the earlier moments have sort of changed the context of the game, have changed our perception of the game. Meanwhile, for those of you that are following, Barcelona still a 0-0 behind against Real Sociedad. That game is also ongoing in the Spanish La Liga. I'm sure Pedro is following the events from there as well. I do not know to what extent, but for the diehard that he is, he should be following the events. Meanwhile, my feed here is failing. Jesus Christ. But yeah. Yeah, we are having internet troubles. Our internet is very, very frustrating, to say the least. Incredibly slow in certain moments. Social media is still blocked in Uganda. So to access social media, you need a VPN, a virtual private network, for you to access social media. So that's the context within which I'm operating. So if we do experience lags, do bear that in mind. But we're not immune to lags, as But wow, what a goal! Brahim Diaz with an opportunity to restore parity, but could not capitalize on that. Fired that straight to Benjamin Mendy, the former Chelsea goalkeeper, won the UEFA Chelsea in 2021. I hope this doesn't cause Morocco to lose their cool, but also to abandon their game plan. It's football. It's a gift that keeps on giving, but crazy. It's been a crazy, and the referee made it that. Perhaps not intentionally, but yeah. The Moroccans cannot believe it. Brahim Diaz has been withdrawn. Nosa Mazoroi has also been withdrawn. Yassin El Nasiri was also already brought on for to try and change, you know, Morocco's fortunes. So they brought on, sorry, not Yassin, Yusuf El Nasiri. Um, so yeah, excuse me. So yeah, it's still 1-0, and we're still into the first um we're into the break, I think, for the first half. Not yet. Maybe not yet. Oh, extra time is what? 30 minutes, 15. Yeah. So, anyways, sorry. That was because of the disruptions that I was having in my internet, but we seem to have recovered. So we are still into the first half of the extra time, you know. So although you'll indulge me, internet is really slow. It's really awful. It's buffering. It's buffering. So we'll have to deal with that. I think I need to test my internet speeds, and I see. Johan Joro. Morocco trying to push for that equalizer, but I yet to find it. They are yet to find it. I'm following some conversation online also, and yeah, everybody seems to agree that that was a clear penalty, absolutely, without a doubt. But like I kept saying, it was due to the moment earlier on um, that Senegalese players thought that was pass. So the foul was on Akraf Hakimi, I think. There's a little bit of push on him. My view was that that was not a foul. That Akraf Hakimi went quite easily to the floor. And I think, in a way, because of that particular incident, the referee is going to get some bit of unfair review on him. So a lot of people seem to think that Senegal were robbed in that moment. For those of you that are just joining us, we are following the events from the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations, where Senegal are leading by a goal to nil. We're into stoppage time of the first half of extra time. So yeah, that's what is happening. That is what it is happening. We are at the tail end of the first half of the extra time. That goal scored by Pape Gueye in the 4th minute of extra time. Let's see. Somebody. Zamira says, hi Zamira, good to have you on the broadcast. Kindly like the broadcast, guys, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. Thank you so much for joining in. Okay. Okay. Oh, it's not looking pretty. We're into halftime of extra time. But like I said, you must feel for the referee now. He's under so much pressure. Perhaps a part of him thinks he can hardly make any single big decision in this game. But let's see. I would love for Morocco to score again. Sorry, I would love for Morocco to score, and then we have a 1-1, and perhaps maybe Senegal win it by 2-1 with a very late kickoff. With a very late with the very late winning goal, you know. So yeah, that would be my hope. Yeah, BBC, that's being dishonest. BBC has a headline that says Senegal leave a field after Morocco awarded controversial penalty. There's nothing controversial about that penalty. Let's be true to ourselves. Let's be objective enough. There's nothing absolutely controversial about that. About that penalty. There's nothing controversial about that penalty. That in itself was a penalty in broad daylight. So in the last edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, remember Ivory Coast won that one by when they beat Nigeria by 2-1 in the finals. The goal scored by William Trust Ekong for Nigeria, while Frank Kessie and I think Sebastian Haller scored for Ivory Coast. And then prior to that, Senegal won the competition in 2021 when they beat Egypt 4-2 on post-match penalties. That edition that was hosted in Cameroon, we all remember. And then in 2019, Algeria, with Egypt as hosts, beat Senegal by 1-0 in the final. So it was a 1-0 victory. Then when you go back to Gabon, 2017, Cameroon won that edition, beating Egypt 2-1 in the final. Then in 2015, Ivory Coast beat Ghana 9-8 on post-match penalties that proceeded a goalless draw after extra time. And then in 2013, Nigeria beat Burkina Faso by 1-0 to win it. And then when you go back to 2012, the edition that was hosted by Equatorial Guinea and Gabon, that edition, which Zambia won under the charges of Hervé Renard. Zambia won that one 8-7 on penalties. Then when you go back to 2010 and 2008, Egypt won those editions that were hosted in Angola and Ghana, respectively, when they won those finals by 1-0. In 2010, they beat Ghana 1-0. In 2008, they beat Cameroon by 1-0. While in 2006, they beat Ivory Coast 4-2 on penalties. So, as you can see, the trend of results in the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations are usually one of not many goals. We've had so many 1-0 victories, we've had some 2-1 victories, and then we've had so many penalty shootouts. So when you go back to 2004, when Tunisia were winning, they beat Morocco by 2-1 in the final. That edition that was hosted by Tunisia itself. Then Cameroon won in 2000, and in 2002, those editions hosted by 2002 Mali hosted, 2000 Ghana and Nigeria were the co-hosts. So yeah, and in those occasions, Cameroon beat Nigeria and Senegal on the finals. So yeah, we are back for the second half of extra time. But like I said, Senegal still have that 1-0 lead thanks to Papa Gueye, who scored in the 4th minute of extra time to give Senegal the lead. But what will dominate the affairs, unfortunately, beyond the winner itself, beyond the eventual winner, will be the moments that we saw, I think, around the 94th minutes or 93rd minute thereabout. And then what we saw in the 97th minute or 96th minute thereabout, when Morocco got awarded that penalty. For me, it was an absolute penalty, no questions about that. No questions about that. Meanwhile, Real Sociedad are leading up against Barcelona by 2-1. They are leading up against Barcelona by 2-1. For those of you that are following, the events are from the Spanish La Liga. Barcelona, remember Real Madrid won their game over the weekend. Was it against Levante, winning by 2-0? Kylian Mbappe and Raul Asensio. So yeah, that's what's happening. That's what's happening at those games, or what is going on. We are into the 110th minute of the game. Unfortunately, my internet is buffering yet again, so do bear with me as I seek to get you all the updates in real time. It's raining quite a bit there in Morocco, where the game is being played. Where the game is being played. The venue for the final is the Prince Moulay Abdel Stadium in Rabat, Morocco. Morocco, one of the, I think, most well-developed countries on the African continent. Very, very well-organized country. I think they are under a monarchy kind of leadership, but yeah, very well-organized country. We've all seen a little bit, at least, of the infrastructure that they do have during the course of this tournament, and it further reaffirms why they are going to be among the three hosts for the 2030 World Cup that will be hosted by Spain, Portugal, as well as Morocco themselves. For the 2030 edition, as the World Cup will be marking its first century, or 100 years. Wow. What a miss. What a miss. Senegal just missed a golden opportunity to make it 2-0. Goalkeeper Bono makes the save, and the Senegalese player cannot pick up on the rebound. He cannot pick up on the rebound. What's his name? I need to find out his name. Probably Shats. No. Ismail Jacobs. Is that the player? Yeah. No. Cherif Ndiaye. Yes, Cherif Ndiaye. What a missed opportunity that was. The goalkeeper, Yassine Bono, makes the save, picks up, runs, gets to run to the rebound, and fires it wide of the mark. It's not over yet, but we are getting there. Only about 7 minutes left until the end of extra time. Oh, Yassine Bono. What a save. What a save. In fact, he gets his fingertips to it as Cherif Ndiaye tries to go for the rebound. Yeah, he gets his fingers to it and sort of gets it out of, sort of a bit out of position for Cherif Ndiaye, who thought was going to score to make it 2-0 for Senegal. And the moment it goes 2-0, then it's practically game over there. Senegal have some really, really experienced players. When you look at the likes of Idriss Gana, when you look at players like Benjamin Mendy in goal, when you look at players like Sadio Mane, when you look at players like Ismail Sarr, on the bench you have players like Pape Matsa, who plays for Tottenham Hotspur. Never mind that Tottenham Hotspur are having quite another bad season, you know. But yeah, they do the likes of Kalidou Koulibaly, although he's not available in this game through suspension. Um, Senegalese people have these common names: Ndiaye, Pape, and Sa. I find those names quite common in Senegal. Sa of Sarr, and then Pape of Pape, and then Ndiaye of Ndiaye, Ndiaye. They also have Ilman Ndiaye, who plays for Everton. Had an opportunity in the, was it in the first half, but could not make it count. Oh, Morocco still trying to push, trying to give it a push, to try and see if they can get that equalizer. Would be interesting if we were to get a goal for Morocco here and we carry the game on into perhaps even penalties. For a neutral for me here, I mean, I'd relish the pressure of penalties, even though I am not rooting for any side, you know. Oh, that's just an incoming of two players. Not much of a foul in there. Sadio Mane, 33 years of age, plays for Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League. Played for Liverpool, played for Bayern Munich, Southampton. I think also had a stint in France. So far, Senegal defended really, really well. Yeah, we are edging closer and closer to, exactly. Morocco should be trying to go long, but will the Moroccans forgive Brahim Diaz? I do not know. Usually, when a player misses a sort of a penalty in the final, it never goes down well with the fans of a respective team for which they may have missed that penalty. So, but it is what it is. Suddenly, you start to feel that Senegal find so many spaces in behind that Moroccan side, but it's because they made all attacking changes to try and change their fortunes in this game, and it's not yet paid off. Barcelona are still 2-1 behind against Sociedad, but do not write off Barcelona. They're known for winning those games late. They did a lot of that last season. Uh, Even when you did not think, no time to waste. Oh, come on. entered the final minute of extra time. Senegal are moments away from creating history. Sadio Mane is moments away from helping his country win another Africa Cup of Nations. Remember, before 2021, they had never won it. So they won that one under the guidance of Aliou Cisse, and now it's Pape Thiaw that is in charge. That's the fifth foul. Clearly placed himself behind the player. Naif Agad looks like he's mentally given up, that it's their day. Well, they had a good run, deserving opponents of the final for Morocco and Senegal. Yeah, but I think it is just that. We are into stoppage time. 3 minutes were added as stoppage time for the extra time. Come on. Losses are hard to take in, and this one will be quite heavy on those Moroccans. They braved the cold weather. Right now it's raining. Supported their team through and through, but it feels like it's just not meant to be. Oh. Could Barcelona be just about to lose their game? Because here, those Senegalese fans and players on the technical bench, the substitutes are just waiting to run onto that pitch into celebration for what will be a landmark victory in their football. I mean, they've been one of the most successful nations in recent times. They've won, under tournaments, underage tournaments. They've been doing well, going deep in those competitions, reaching semifinals and quarterfinals and things like that. So yeah, they have very, very decent talents. We are waiting for that final whistle, and I think it's about to come. The referee is about to blow it anytime from now. Senegal will be champions. Wow. They've done it. They've done it. Congratulations, Team Senegal, on winning your second Africa Cup of Nations. You had to do it the hard way, but you did it anyway. Pape and Ndiaye there with the call that turned out to be the match winner. I knew the margins were going to be small. I remember I was part of a TikTok forum earlier on today with Aldrin Sugar and all those that were part of that forum, and I said it's going to be a game of small margins. My only hope was that it would not end goalless in normal time, and yet it did. So yeah, but congratulations, Team Senegal. I'm sure AFCON is going to throw a big party for them, as promised. Big party or concert, I don't know, whatever you may call it. But yeah, Senegal win it. Pape Gueye, not Ndiaye, sorry. I keep mixing these names. But it was at shot 26 Pape Gueye with that goal in the 4th minute of extra time that has turned out to be the match winner, that has won the game for this Senegalese side, that has won the AFCON for them. The way some of those players are celebrating, it's like they've won against I don't know, against the odds. The odds, by the odds, I mean against what for them they feel was a predetermined winning finalist. But yeah, congratulations at Senegal. Congratulations at Pape Theo or Pape Thiao, whichever way the name is pronounced, on that victory winning the Africa Cup of Nations. On the other side, let's see how Barcelona are doing, because Barcelona are still 2-1 in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. Those Moroccan players are inconsolable, including the CAF Player of the Year, that's Akraf Hakimi. But they'll know they fought a good fight. It is what it is. You lose. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Unfortunately for Morocco, they are at on the losing end of this one. I think Senegal's goal should have stood. Also, that's a clear penalty there. That's from Andrew Kabura. For those of you that have been following the Africa Cup of Nations on a Supersport, you must have seen his face. Andrew Kabura. Congratulations, Team Senegal. Senegal have won it. Senegal have won it. They are champions. They are champions. I think we need to amend this. Yep, those Moroccan players are inconsolable, but they will need to pick themselves up to go and pick their losers' medals. But at least they will take home some good prize money for reaching the final. I think around $7 million, while Senegal will take up to $10 million. Yassine Bono looking inconsolable on that. So yeah, guys, allow me also wrap it up here. It's been a pleasure doing this with you. We'll do a review of all that in the morning. But thank you so much, Pedri. Thank you so much, um, Zamira, and every single one of you that is Bazoka Franklin, uh, Bazoka Franklin. Thank you so much, Junko, Ensh- Enoshima. There's somebody, Amlen. There's somebody else there. So thank you so much, all of you that have been part of tonight's broadcast. Allow me wish you a blessed night. Let's catch up tomorrow. Catch up tomorrow at 9 a.m. East African time. For those of you that will make it for our morning broadcast. Remember, we do that every single morning, Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. With Saturday, we do come in at around 11, a.m. about that time. We had been away for about 4 days due to, internet being turned off. And like I've informed you, social media is still blocked in Uganda. You need VPNs to access that in case you're interested on picking up on that. So yeah, that's what is happening. Have a blessed night, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye for now.